Okay. You guys know I haven't been a big fan of Google here lately because they're just imposing themselves on everybody, trying to make everything free, brainwashing everybody that if it's not open, that it's no good. And the only reason they want everything open is so they can run ads and have all this ad revenue and stuff. But I found this interesting article at TechCrunch, and I usually don't like TechCrunch's stuff, but I thought it deserved its own individual video. Okay? So, for Google, the meaning of open is when it's convenient for them. Yesterday, Google published a long manifesto on the meaning of open in the form of an email to all employees, republished as a blog post. In it, Senior VP of Product Management Jonathan Rosenberg makes an elegant argument on why open systems always win and urges Google's employees to always strive to be open when designing products. I call them Greedle, not Google. An open internet spurs innovation and brings more consumers on board, which ultimately means more searches and increased use of web applications. They're not doing it to help you guys out. Don't you understand this? They're doing it to help them out. It's not about making everything open and easy. It's about making everything open and easy to Google. Now, I'm assuming here he has some emails written here. It says the gist of this Senior VP of Product Management, Jonathan Rosenberg at Google. The gist of his argument is that a bigger, better internet is good for Google. He writes that Google employees should resist the impulse to create closed products and systems, and even makes a swipe at Apple for doing so. Bold added for emphasis, if you see down here at the bottom. So now let's read some of this email. Open systems win. This is counterintuitive to the traditionally trained MBA who was taught to generate a substantial competitive advantage by creating a closed system, making it popular, then milking it through the product lifecycle. The conventional wisdom goes that companies should lock in customers to lock out competitors. A well-managed closed system can deliver plenty of profits. They can also deliver well-designed products in the short run, the Apple and iPhone being the obvious examples. But eventually, innovation in a closed system tends towards being incremental at best. Is a four-bladed razor really much better than a three-bladed one? Now, because the whole point is to preserve the status quo, complacency is the hallmark of any closed system. If you don't have to work that hard to keep your customers, you won't. Now, Apple innovates more than almost anybody in the tech industry, especially hardware-wise. What the heck is Google talking about? Surely they wasn't referencing Apple with that last sentence. Complacency is the hallmark of any closed system, not Apple's. And as far as this four-blade razor really much better than three, you need to ask yourself that question. Gmail's been in beta for how long? It all sounds great. You know, listening and reading this article, this email from Google, Vice President of Marketing here, it all sounds great, and Google certainly is a champion of open source systems with Android and Chrome and countless other projects. Google's making a very public effort to claim the mantle of openness. But the battle for this mantle has been going on for a long time. 2 years ago, I wrote a post titled, "Who is the openest of them all?" And what I noted then bears repeating. Don't be fooled. Companies are very selective about the areas where they choose to be open, and they very rarely open up their core source of profits voluntarily. So the next time a company touts how open it is, ask yourself how that will help make it more money. Google is only open when it is convenient for them. Google will never open up the source code to its search algorithms or its advertising system or share the core data, which gives it a competitive advantage in all those areas, because that's where it makes all of its money. Again, I pointed this out in a post 2 years ago. Just because the industry pressures and increased interconnectedness are forcing companies to embrace open technologies. Don't confuse openness with profitability. Open standards tend to be good for spurring the adoption of new technologies, but not so good for generating profits directly. That is why companies choose to be open along axes where they don't compete. Google, for instance, is a big proponent of open standards in social networking, mobile networks, mobile applications, and practically everywhere except the one place it makes money. Its advertising system is a black box. You also never hear any talk coming out of Google about opening up the search algorithms that drive all those advertising revenues. In contrast, Google has no problem championing the open standards in industries that it is hoping to disrupt by commoditizing existing business models with open standards and making money with advertising instead. Now, you need to go back and read or listen to what I just read you there, okay? The very last little bit of it. In fact, I'll read it for you again. You never hear any talk coming from Google about opening up the search algorithms that drive all those advertising revenues. Google has no problem championing open standards in industries that it is hoping to disrupt. So it wants to go in and be able to run all these ads, and those are the industries that it's vying for openness. Like, turn-by-turn navigation. Oh, open. Everything should be open. Open, open, open. Of course it should. That's your mantra. Rosenberg realizes there's an incongruity between what he is saying and what Google is doing. He takes a stab at rationalizing this huge exception to Google's embrace of everything open. While we are committed to opening the code for our developer tools, not all Google products are open source. Our goal is to keep the internet open, which promotes choice and competition and keeps users and developers from getting locked in. In many cases, most notably our search and ad products, opening up the code would not contribute to these goals and would actually hurt users. Maybe, but it's more likely it would hurt Google. The company has good reasons for keeping those things closed tight. Opening up those black boxes would make it easier to spam search and game AdWords and give competitors valuable data to make their own search engines and advertising systems better. If it opened all that stuff up, it would have to work harder to keep its customers. And really, nobody should begrudge them the right to keep products they've spent a lot of time and energy and money building to themselves. But don't give us this song and dance crap about how everything should be open and how Google is the openest company in the world. Google has nothing to lose if operating systems, mobile phones, browsers, books, news, and every other industry becomes open and free, as long as it can make money from search and advertising. That's exactly why Google is so disruptive. It can offer products for free that other industries have to charge for, as long as those products result in more searches or other advertising opportunities. There is nothing wrong with this strategy. The fact that Google is pushing openness in so many industries is generally a good thing for startups and customers alike. But Google should just be honest and say they think everything should be open, except for search and advertising. Now I want to go back and read that last paragraph one more time, whether I'm being repetitive or not. Nobody should begrudge Google the right to keep products they've spent a lot of time and energy and money building to themselves. But don't give us this song and dance about how everything should be open and how Google is the openest company in the world. Google has nothing to lose if operating systems, mobile phones, browsers, books, news, and every other industry becomes open and free, as long as it can make money from search and advertising. That's exactly why Google is so disruptive, and that's exactly why Google wants everything open. It can offer products for free that other industries have to charge for, as long as those products that they offer for free result in more searches or other advertising opportunities. So when I'm saying Google wants everything free, you all just don't get it. You don't get what's going on, and you Google fanboys are worse than Microsoft fanboys. You're worse than Apple fanboys. You are the lowest of the low fanboys I've ever seen. Now, I've seen decent Google fans, but I've seen fanboys that just absolutely think that Google does nothing wrong. They refuse to see the facts in front of them. They refuse to see what's going on. And if you want to like Google, hey, that's your business. That's you. You like Google. You like what they're doing. And you don't think that they're gonna be controlling everything, that's your business. But for me, Google's got Gmail, Google's got search, Google's wanting our browser, Google's wanting our operating system, now Google's wanting our phones. I'm sorry, I'm not comfortable with that. And all you fanboys can just take that stuff and shove it up your you-know-what, is what I'm saying. I'm going to finish up my little video with some of the article I tweeted earlier. And it ends. Google justifies all of this on the idea that a lot of other companies have been gathering this data for some time. But there's a difference. Those companies only had data from one source at a time. For Google, it's different. Their specialty is organizing information. They have access to more avenues of user data than any other company in the history of the world, and the ability to connect every aspect of every person's life. Log into Gmail on Android? Congrats. Your phone number can now be tied to your IP home IP. Don't search using Google? Between AdSense and analytics, you've probably got a 35 to 50% chance of sending data to Google anyways with every page load. Did you buy something through an ad served by Google? With conversion tracking, they know you bought and can tie that back to everything else. I'm really beginning to get scared here. Even ignoring Google's less than benevolent intentions, can anyone imagine a data breach? No company is truly secure. 4 years ago, the entire member database of the largest porn network on the planet was available, including passwords, for $1,000. Over 500,000 records. There have been data breaches at pharmaceutical companies, leaking millions of customer records down to the pill they took and when the prescription was up. Government servers get compromised. Credit bureaus get compromised. So why should Google be any different? Google has an interesting issue. They have more user data than they can allow AdWords advertisers to target. This is an absolutely insane amount of information. Not use the data? They could not use the data. Google is a publicly traded company. The responsibility is to stockholders, so regardless of how warm and fuzzy they act to the internet community at large, this option is not viable. Their privacy policies contradict the filth they spew towards the consumer about how the data will not be used. And guess which one is legally the reality? The privacy policy. They're using the data, folks. I don't understand how prominent geeks normally so paranoid over spyware and whatnot can ignore Google. They function on a higher level than any spyware company in history and do it all by winking in the webmaster community and acting like they'll look out for us. Do no evil is the motto of a private company, not a public company. What is good for the consumer is not good for the company, and that is especially true with the advertising company that has access to so much data. OS 10.